Welcome in New York. Welcome to the Post 90 podcast. We haven't done one of these in a little while where we're as post 90 as we can get at the moment. I think the 16th minute of stoppage time just ended seconds ago. So we are very much in the throes of the game. Very much in the emotions of the end of that game. Those that are listening the morning after know exactly what we're talking about, where it was just kind of kitchen sink defending for the last 20-ish minutes. Nick throwing as many defenders in there as he can possibly manage to get on the field, and the ref doing everything he can to give Cincinnati an opportunity to challenge Messi and Miami for the top spot of the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, it was, like I was telling you, it kind of did soil the game for me in a big way. I mean, the team itself kind of did that, but the ref was just, I mean, one of the worst performances I'd ever seen from a ref. And if I was in the press conference, I'd be asking Nick, like, how, when you have situations like this where a ref is so bad that he is genuinely putting, in my opinion, putting the players in danger, like,
it's like Pep said, like, the players are going to die.
What course of action does a team have, does, like, the fan base have to make the league more aware of that? Because, like, that genuinely was so out of hand. It seemed like he was just picking and choosing from little things to, like time wasting, little things like that, to, like, big things where dudes are getting hit in the face and kneed in the back of legs, and
Max getting, like, elbowed in the back of the head and dropped to the ground, no card.
What was early on, that guy just blows through Sands.
Yep.
Not looking for the ball at all, just looking to, like, cause harm to Sands, and, like, does.
That was one thing I had in my notes is, like, in this game, and maybe it was just this game, so it seems more prevalent, but, like, Sam's is kind of just out there like a crash dummy for the whole game. Like, there are so many moments where he's just kind of getting a leg in and clearing a ball, and then a player is just, like, flatlining him immediately after, and, like, he gets the clearance off, but I just can't imagine, you know, being Sands the morning after a game and, like, rolling out of bed. Like, there's no shot all of you feels okay.
Well, I mean, like, to be fair, in real life, 2 weeks in a row of playing soccer, I've got a ball drilled straight into my intangibles. Yeah. And I feel awful the next day. This dude's getting it everywhere.
I mean, yeah, on all parts of him for
every part
116 minutes.
Yeah.
And he gets the yellow card, which means he's actually out, I think, against Nashville this weekend on yellow card accumulation. And we've talked for the last few episodes about him being the firefighter of this team. Like, he is stepping in the Cincinnati game and then in the Red Bulls game as well, which we have to talk about, which is just an insane result. But stepping in between mostly Thiago and Hack and putting out most fires that appear.
Yeah, and I think it goes to the point of, you know, we've asked a lot of times, why not just put Sands at center back and, you know, let Hack be in the midfield? Like, I think genuinely you look at these games where, you know, Hack's had to be back there, and you like, it's as clear as to why Nick is making that decision as possible, because Sands in that position is truly irreplaceable. Mm-hmm. Like, he's playing on a level higher than, you know, what earned him a trip overseas. And it's something you cannot ignore. He's playing out of his mind.
It's sort of in the same vein with us losing Santi against the Red Bulls. It's like we have no idea personnel-wise what we're going to do, and we'll have conversations about what that looked like playing the Red Bulls without Santi. And it seems like things are fine without him, which is a great thing. But, like, Sands is another one of those players where when you don't have him in the 11, it can change the entire result of the game.
Yeah.
He can be the pivotal piece that's the difference between a win and a loss.
Yeah, and I think we get back to the idea that Hack is probably going to plug that hole.
Yeah.
You know, Burke gets minutes at the end. You could probably make the conclusion that he's coming back into the lineup. And then you get Keaton possibly back in the lineup. But, you know, you look at a performance from a guy like Pereira today and just how much, like, a sense of calm energy he brought to the midfield. It was, to me, I try not to overreact in that. Obviously, this is directly after the game. And, you know, had we recorded after the Red Bulls game, I don't know what type of energy I would have been on, I probably would have been just bugging out. But Pereira, genuinely, he seemed so much more calm and like more of a piece that fit into the way that we were playing tonight than Keaton. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to start like a conversation of Keaton shouldn't start, but Pereira did make a pretty good
case.
A great case to kind of stay out there and get another shot.
And not even just talking about tonight, but like the Red Bulls game,
right?
Him plugging the hole on the left wing that was left by Santi on yellow card accumulation. Obviously, he goes and gets his goal, gets Tavon that assist as well. It just feels like you can kind of plug Pereira in like literally in almost any position on the field. Like aside from, I mean, I would even maybe at a wing back position like feel comfortable. The only place I might not want him is like center back, but like pretty much anywhere else on the field, It feels like you can plug him in. I know at times earlier in the season, I think we plugged him in at the 9, like in dying moments of games, kind of like the false 9 that Maxi or Santi would do at times. And like he just kind of finds a way to be productive, whether that's in terms of adding goal contributions through goals or assists, or just doing his best Sands impression, maybe not to the level that Sands does defensively, but just he is a player. Like he is kind of a crazy player to have on the roster, and I guess maybe we didn't realize how much it hurt our team where we had those winless streaks or lost streaks where he was injured. He was injured for a big part of the season, like, and I never really attributed our poor form to the fact that that piece was just gone.
Yeah, I think athletically speaking, he is probably top 2 on the team. Like him and Moonsaf are probably the 2 best athletes on the team. Like you look at his engine, like he at the dying minutes of the game was running as if it was the beginning first whistle. Athletically, he's getting to positions that, not to put Keaton down, to put Pereira up, but like Keaton just isn't athletic enough to get to those positions, like not fast enough, specifically on the pen. Let's say the pen, right? Like I don't think Keaton is quick enough to hawk down that ball and also get in front and also draw the foul. There's just so many different situations like that where you would prefer to at least have Pereira on the field. And if that costs you a Keaton for a good portion of the game, like that's kind of, I'm comfortable with whatever at this point.
Yeah, well, it's difficult. Like when you look at our roster construction, I know at times we've come on here and we've talked about potential 2-striker systems, but then you're sacrificing some type of natural midfielder to fit in a striker that, would have to be one of 2 guys that we've really not seen anything worth replacing a midfielder for this season. So you have a Pereira, a Santi, a Maxi, a Sands, and a Keaton. Yeah. All of which are honestly, they should be starters in the MLS. But how do you fit 5 midfielders on the field at once? Like you literally can't do it. Maxi somehow has the engine of an 18-year-old. He's 37 years old and he just played 90 in the Derby, and then he plays close to 90 tonight as well. Like it's insane. It's the stuff that we typically see out of teenagers, and we're like, just run them until their legs fall off because it doesn't matter to them. Yeah. They have the engine for that. So it's like nearly, I mean, it is impossible to get all 5 of them on the field.
We did get 5 natural midfielders in the game for the Derby from the lineup. Yeah. But one of them had to play. But no Santi, which would be probably the top of that list, if not second after Maxi. But, I still go back to the idea that, and we saw it at times in this game where Santi operating out of a winger position was so much more effective. And I know that he has at times been really, really good coming from the 10 and being a midfielder. He's just so much better as a winger. It's not even a debate for me. So here's one thing that I was thinking about. How much of that do you think is the fact that every time he's a winger, it means that Maxi is the 10? Yeah. Like there is a level of, I don't even know what to call it, like Maxi washing, that every time Santi is playing left wing, it's because we have, they called him the general during the game, and that's like the perfect name from the little genius, as Ian Joy would say, him at that 10. So he always has that production of Maxi to kind of lean on. And it feels like in a lot of situations, even where Maxi probably should not be forcing the ball to Santi, that ball is getting forced to Santi. We saw that tonight on one of the breakaways. So I wonder how much,
the extra production is coming from having kind of better supporting pieces on the field versus it just being that he's better in that position. It's hard to say.
Yeah, no, it is like that is a good point, and it's definitely the case that having Maxey on the team is going to make everyone better, and everyone is eating because of Maxey. But there is like, I don't know, just a general like calmness that comes with his play on the wing that you don't really get in the midfield, because I do feel that, not that he lets the pressure get to him, but how could you not, if you know you're going into a game as like the pivotal role for a team, you're going to feel the pressure in some way. Whereas on the wings, I just think he can kind of, if he messes up, it's not the end of the world. It's, a turnover is a turnover, but you have guys behind you that are going to be able to help you.
Yeah, I think oftentimes when we see Santi at the 10, what I notice is he's having to track back a bit too far on defense. Not that he's not capable of doing it. It's the fact that it is something that he's good at doing and something he's clearly instructed to do. And then when he's able to force a turnover or something like that, like he's now so far out of position to be a part of, the attacking part of our game, where he is such a vital piece in that like to remove him from that equation because he's on our half of the field at the time that we gain possession is like very detrimental.
Yeah, or too tired.
Yeah. I mean, running up and down the field
numerous
all
times.
game, the entire game.
It's tough. It's definitely tough.
It's impossible for men like us. Yeah. He, that's what I think. He finds himself out of position, and he definitely, you can tell when he's in the 10 role versus kind of his fitness at the end of games where he's played left wing, that like he kind of wanes, his energy is running out towards the end of the game from that 10 spot. Speaking
about energy, I kind of wanted to touch on something that is very, very obvious, and it's kind of one of those things where you don't notice it until somebody points it out, and then from that point on you can't unsee it, and it kind of it vindicates what we thought at the time was like kind of nonsense and like coach speak. Alonso cannot go 90. Like he
to be fair, he did. I mean, he only played like 65 in the Derby,
right?
So, but he did play 3 days ago,
and he looked tired at the end of his shift in that game. He looked tired. At the end of the shift today, he looked like from halftime. He looked done.
And this isn't the first time, to be fair, that you've said this over the course of the last 3 games.
Right.
Like I feel like you noticed it. You said something to me during not the Red Bulls game, the game prior. I think it was Philly.
Yeah.
Which that is a whole emotional beatdown in itself. Not to mention fitness.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that is like rearing its head a little bit. And we talked about it with Cushing. Like maybe I think it was the Philly game, did he let him run the full 90? And we came on here and we were like, so. I think that was Cushing being like, if you guys want to see 90-minute Alonso, here he is, by the way. And I feel like we got taught our lesson in that game.
100%.
Yeah. It's interesting. And it sucks too because Baki is not really, I don't know. I feel like he has kind of any confidence that he would have had. He used to kind of have this blind confidence that we would talk about. Like, although he is like missing 10 shots a game, half of them sitters, like he was not allowing it to kind of knock him. But now it just feels like he's kind of a shell of even that diminished player that he was back then.
Yeah, at this point, he just seems like he's almost just being used as I don't want to say a robot in a sense, but like he is being told, you press, you look for these triggers and you press, and if you get a chance to score, like, cool.
Good luck.
But I don't think there's really anybody on that bench that is putting Munsef on the field and thinking, yeah, this is the day. Like he's gonna.
It's more like Munsef get the ball and then get it to Santi or Maxey.
It is 100% honestly what Cushing said, which is Alonso can't do the pressing at this point.
Not for 90.
So we need him to go and do that.
Yeah, not for 90. It turns out that Cushing had somewhat of a pulse on the situation.
It's crazy what happens when you listen to the guys that are watching these players every day.
Yeah. The man that is literally paid handsomely to know these things.
And then I don't know how Cushing would have possibly been in his crystal ball. Maybe it was his head. He looked in the mirror and he saw the future that not only Ilanik was going to go and score a banger, but like Tavon was going to just go into the game brain removed. Like
at the end of the game, at the end of this game, the Cincy game.
He looked like a deer in headlights. He very early on was making mistakes, earned his yellow card, gave away a corner with a sloppy, touch of the ball that turns into a goal that, puts our hearts
at risk
for 79 minutes.
What did Lamar Jackson say? I don't know if we could repeat.
Oh, yeah, we cannot repeat what Lamar Jackson said.
If you know, you know.
But
yeah, it was horrible.
But Cushing, to be fair, a lot of great decisions. I don't totally agree with. I was thinking that Alonso should have come off before he scored. He ends up getting the goal and kind of shuts me up for a few moments, and then you see him press a few minutes after that, and you're like, yeah, this dude's cooked. So you kind of got to give Cush a couple of flowers for the past 2 games.
Yeah.
But then you see stuff on the broadcast like 30-30 with 20 draws in his time here, and you're like, dude, if that was me at work, I'd be cooked. Like, I'd be so gone. I would be so incredibly fired at this point.
Yeah, if you're only batting like 50.
But on the flip side of that, like, we are better objectively than last season.
Yeah.
Like, statistically, we are better. We made it to the playoffs as a base level. We've made it deep. Not deep, but somewhat, further than we did last year in the League Cup. Like, year-over-year improvement, not to get to corporate America, but, like, the year-over-year improvement is there.
Yeah. It's interesting. I don't think we're in a position where, barring catastrophe, and I feel like we've said this on the podcast before, like, barring catastrophe, maybe if we were to lose both of our 3-game series, like, just go 0-2 and just out of the playoffs, like, and it's like clearly we got outplayed. Like, it'd have to be like 3-0 and 5-0 or something crazy. I think barring that, like, Cushing is definitely the manager going into next season, which, it's hard, I think, to hate on him at the moment. There were definitely ups and downs during the season at times where we were totally not confident with him being a part of it, and certainly large portions of the fan base that have not been confident with it for the past year. But it's always been a situation where we know the club is just going to do what they want to do.
Yeah.
So, like, you kind of just have to cope with that and be okay with it and find the positives in it. And, like, there's been certainly a few positive moments. There's been, that Red Bull game was maybe the biggest game of his tenure, right? I think so.
Yeah.
The biggest win of his tenure.
I would say, maybe making it to the Eastern Conference, so the game right before that, really could stand out because of even worse things circulating at that time.
Yeah.
With him being, I think an interim at that point.
Right. Chanot was out for that game too. He was
there was a lot
his best impression
going into that the game before the Eastern Conference final. That I think that may be his biggest game, but that was the biggest result, definitely of this season, definitely
top 3 of all time.
One of the top 3, like top of 2 for Red Bull, like our Red Bulls.
Yeah.
Derby wins. I'm in agreement though that there's pretty much nothing at this point that could knock Cushing. Like, all he has to do is say, look at last year, look at this season. We improved. Another year we're going to continue to improve, and maybe he starts the next year's pressers saying, I do think this team can win.
That's what he said this year. I don't know if everybody remembers, and maybe we need to have like a recap at the end of the season of like all the big moments and talking points throughout the season. But like, that was something I remember during the preseason. He was like, I feel like this is a team that can win the championship. And then I think within 3 to 4 days, he was in another press conference and he was like, we are very young. We have a lot of growth to do. Like, I don't know if he called him up and was like, we need to pump the brakes on expectations.
Yeah. Well, and that team that he was speaking about is very different to the one that we have currently.
Well, in a way, yeah. And I think back then it was a lot of hope on potential.
Yeah.
Like, we hadn't seen, really what Malachi Jones was at that point. That was one of probably the only things aside from Alonso that fully panned out. Like, We've now seen Ojeda for what his contribution really is. We've seen Julian what his contribution really is, and in both cases, not very good, honestly. Yeah. And that could be due to a lack of opportunity. But at the end of the day, like, if you're not putting in enough work at training that he wants to give you an opportunity, then that says enough about, what would most likely happen if you were to find your way onto the field. So back then, it was a lot of potential that we were excited about. Mijatovic, potential that we were excited about. There were a lot of players like that. And then I think, Brad or Dave, Dave, is that his name? I can't even remember his name.
David Lee?
David Lee, yeah. Why would I say Dave? David. One of the two called him. Like, hey, buddy.
Dave on my speed dial, Dave.
Yeah. Definitely one of them called him and were like, hey, we cannot be telling fans that we're winning the cup this year because we're in the know. We do not feel that. Yeah, we do not feel that optimistic.
I did forget that, but easy we are to forget glaring headlines.
Yeah, and maybe it's worth talking about a headline, not that we created, but that we were certain, maybe we created it on Twitter, posting a short clip of Mijatovic upset after the game. I know on a few of the different podcasts it was talked about as well, and certainly a lot of replies to the video on Twitter. And I think in general, when we posted it, the sentiment definitely, and I'll just come clean with it, was like, I'm upset that he's upset after winning a derby game. But I think I've thought about it a bit more, and it does feel like it's good to see him. He's clearly not upset about the result. That's silly to assume.
Right, yeah.
He's just upset that he's not a part of what was, like we just said, one of the biggest games that we've ever had, kind of getting our get back on the Red Wedding, which I still feel like Red Bull fans might have a little bit of, shit to give us still. Because it was 5-1. It wasn't 7-0. And I don't feel like we're all the way back on the Red Wedding, personally.
No, we need to get like
we needed to score 7.
We need to become consistently the team that wins it every time and have a guy that is consistently scoring in the derby. And
I mean, to be fair, I think in our last 5 of 6 meetings, we've won. And we swept them this year. Mm-hmm. And we got that nice new Statue of Liberty trophy. But all that to say that I think I was very upset with Mijatovic at first, seeing him upset. But it does make sense, I guess. He's also a bit younger to be upset about not getting playing time. And I think what you might say is, son, you haven't shown anything to demand playing time.
That and like I was telling you, obviously we saw the response. It's impossible to ignore. I was just wanting a moment to say, hey, here's this kid who needs to read the room here. Let's take a minute to zoom out a little bit and be like, why are we upset in this moment specifically? Mm-hmm. Once the game's over, the team, you've left the building and you're sitting with yourself, or you're at training,
or having a conversation
with
Nick the next day or something.
Whatever it is, those are the moments that you can have those emotions. And to me, that I want that from somebody. But when you're showing it in a space that is actively taking away from others, mm-hmm. and pulling from others, and there's been other times this season where he's been a distraction, whether that's him or his family or whoever, over this idea of playing time, which is what we're assuming he's upset about.
To be fair, they could have been anything.
It could have been.
It could have been a Red Bull player said some shit to him, and he was because it was him and Hannes having a conversation. If those that didn't see the clip at the end of the game, or if you were at the game, you wouldn't have seen the broadcast. It was Jovan basically just complaining to Hannes, throwing his arms up and just kind of noticeably upset. And that, I think our assumption in general was just that it was from playing time. That's what we talked about kind of off the air with each other. We didn't necessarily. I tried to post the tweet, to be fair, without any context or narrative and trying to frame it poorly on Jovan. I feel like that's something that media people do pretty shitty towards players in general across all sports. So I feel like I kind of made a concerted effort not to do that. But a Red Bulls player could have just been fuck you.
Right. It could have literally been.
He could have just been complaining. A fan could have said it to him. A fan could have thrown a beer we were at RBA. We were away. It could have been anything. Yeah. But I feel
given the context of the season of what the issues around him are, mm-hmm. it's been playing time, and we do not want to be the leaders of the hate group for a 19-year-old. That's never what we want to do. Right. But it was something that I still feel was worthy of pointing out as, hey,
I think it was interesting regardless.
Right, yeah. This is the thing that happened. What
Emotions
do you think?
Are fun. And it's just a lot. I know Alonso got clipped when he got subbed off as well. He was upset, shaking his head and kind of muttering something to himself, obviously that the broadcast didn't pick up on, but he was on his brace and probably wanted his hat trick, much like whatever game it was that just happened where he got yanked on a prospective hat trick too. Like, it's just interesting to see these guys and see how they react in these moments, and like be aware of it as fans too. Like you know,
but
that's what I felt.
You know, even to the Alonso thing, like, he's earned the ability to complain. Whether he's right or not, I mean, that's another story. Jovan may be right. I've seen the videos of him in training. The dude in training looks like the next coming of Jesus. So I understand where his frustrations are. It's just never, ever, ever materialized in a game setting, even when playing amongst people his age. And so
with NYCFC too.
With NYCFC too. And like, that's where kind of like you don't win things for being good in training. Outside of like Justin Hack was very good in training for a very long time, and now he's able to get the opportunity. But the dude almost left. Like, the rumors were that he almost left before getting this opportunity. And you just hope that it doesn't get to that point for the kid, because he clearly has talent. He just hasn't shown. Yeah,
and I mean, I feel like he's young too. Like, that is like actually like the best point is the Hack thing. Like, there were probably moments where, you know, Hack, we've talked about on our past episodes before, like, has mentioned that he pays attention to media. So he's definitely seen things related to rumors about him potentially leaving, or if he even heard anything from the club, like, that would definitely be something that's upsetting. But now he's getting these run of games. He's looking great.
I'm sure Sands at a point was like, dude, I'm really good in training. Like, just give me a shot.
Right.
And it ended up working out. O'Toole. Like, all of these things.
It takes time. He's 18, I
19.
think. 19. Like, that's super young. And, you know, he's not, I doubt he's upset because he's not the starter. I mean, I'm sure he is, right? But even realistically, like, he's probably hoping that, or wishing that he would be the first sub over Baki.
In that game, in that moment, yeah.
Yeah. And, I mean, even generally, like, I just don't think, even from a standpoint of what we heard from Nick, is that Baki is, like, being put in directly because of the things that, like, he offers as a player profile, being his press, his, like, ability to break lines and all these different things, which is just not the profile of Jovan at all.
It's completely different.
It's completely different.
And, yeah, I mean, just to kind of put the final nail in it, and, you know, like I'll reiterate it, we don't want to be the leader of the Jovan Hayes squad. I would gladly, you know, if he had an issue with it, apologize. Yeah.
I mean, I think it makes sense. Like, I would be, to be fair, like, if I was in his position, I would be pissed. Like, during pickup, if I don't get past the ball and we're playing like 7v7 with like a bunch of old men, like, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, bro, make the pass or something, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I can only imagine when it was money and career and everything's at play, like, you know.
Yeah, but there is time.
Yeah, he's young.
He's young. There's time in you know, there's the next year, which is more likely to be the time that we start to see him. I do believe that Nick is sipping the tea of, you know, we're not trying to get guys going. Outside of like Olenek today, just because you need him to be somewhat warm in an emergency that Tavon's out, but like...
And Tavon just went the whole game of the derby.
Right. And so, you know, just the thing that I like to see the most was Hannes being that shoulder, being that, like, that leader, the older guy to be like, hey, it's whatever situation you're angry at, like, we just won, dude, come on.
Yeah. And
clearly it worked because he was smiling in the celebration pictures.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, we also tried to, including no narrative on what would have been very easy to paint as negative, like, I also tried to repost all of the positive things, which is, you know, he, I guess otherwise has been a pretty great teammate. That was mentioned tonight too when Olenek got his goal. So, just an interesting situation.
To be fair, was his best friend on the team.
Yeah.
Like, if you scored and I was angry with the team we were on, I would be ecstatic. Like, even when we play against each other in pickup, you score and I'm like, yo, that's great. Like, that's awesome. So, I wouldn't read too much into that.
Yeah. I was going to take it somewhere else. I actually had like a transition planned, and then I thought of that moment from tonight's game, and it kind of threw me off my scent. Oh, Hannes. I mean, yeah, so him himself as a leader is like not going through a great period at the moment either.
Right.
So like for him to be able to do that as well, I think was a cool moment and gave us a little bit of insight. Again, like in a clip like that, like we may focus on Jovan, but it is cool to see that moment from Hannes too and be like, oh, I didn't know Hannes had that side to his game or to his character.
Right.
Where he's like so now we know like Hannes is taking care of guys in the locker room.
Which makes sense as to why he's one of the most played players on the field, because you know that you have Hannes, Santi, Maxi, Sands on the field, Thiago in the back, Fries in the back. You have leaders all over the field who are able to, get people in check and make sure that at least the instruction from the manager is being followed.
Yeah.
Whether or not Hannes at the moment is really contributing to the scoreboard or anything like that, that's kind of, I don't want to stay on it too long, because it kind of is what it is. And do I think that there's more effective players that could be there? Yeah, to be honest, yeah. But I think he offers enough at this point to keep being started.
Yeah, and Kush is a big like character guy when it comes to team selection. Like we always talk about how he picks these guys that are like Kush's guys, and like now you kind of have the keys to do what you want to do on the field and to get these unlimited opportunities, kind of regardless of form. So.
But even despite visually, like he does have contributions on the season. I think he's one of the few double-digit contributors for us. And so, I don't know, we kind of just got to chalk it up to be like, maybe he does contribute more than I think, and I focus more. Selfishly, I may focus more on the scorer rather than him being the assister, because I do think he has a few assists on the season.
Yeah, I think, there was definitely a point early in the season where he was super productive, and we were talking about, if Hannes is going to be like this all season, like the league is essentially on notice at this point.
And he was not.
And this is the part where the narrator steps in and says he did not remain.
He did not.
At that form. So I feel, tonight was obviously an incredible result. I think it's still fresh for us, and we have the animosity towards the ref and the team, almost seemingly giving it away, honestly, at the end.
Yeah, trying their best.
Fresh, but like looking at it, trying to look at it from like a higher point of view between this game and the Red Bulls game, bouncing back after what was like a humiliating loss to Philly at home. We are, Sands may have, even the result against Miami, I forgot that was after Miami as well. Like, that is a massive result against Miami, who just clinched the Supporter Shield tonight with 2 or 3 games left in the season. So that obviously isn't something that happened. We were able to get a point against them. People are still kind of peddling the Sands header being the goody free kick. And I guess at least at the moment they're building a case. We'll say that. We'll have to, we'll see what comes of it. But at the moment, like, we are about as good as I could have possibly hoped running into the playoffs.
Yeah, if you're looking at the season as kind of like a stock ticker, where we're beginning to gain a couple of positive points here. We're looking to get into the green, and we'll see where this takes us. I think Cushing is doing his best to kind of instill in the guys that like the playoffs have started. For you guys, the playoffs need to start, because we can't be going into the playoffs in a downturn the way that we were. It just can't happen. And so I'm excited about the team. I'm trying not to put too much into these 2 results, because they are just that. They are 2 results. But it's positive and it's good and it's fun.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is we do have 2 games left on the season total, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I can't believe we're already towards the end of the season. But we've got Nashville, who is in 11th place, and we've got Montreal, who are in 8th place. I don't know if the Nashville game is home or away, but I know that the Montreal game is home. But regardless, like, Nashville is in 11th. So I think both of those games are obviously winnable, especially if we're going to play at all like we've played in Miami, Red Bulls, and Cincinnati. Yep. We should be able to get 6 points from them, which I think is out of our hands. But if we get a little help from Orlando by way of them dropping points, then we can finish in 4th, which would be above definitely all of, I think, at least the local media, local podcasts and blogs and stuff, above the projections of all of us. So it's a good time to be a City fan at the moment.
The Montreal game. I was just checking to see if that one was a Sunday game, but it is not.
I think the Nashville game.
Nashville is a Sunday game. That's
4.
why I thought it was going to be like a decision day type of, Sunday showdown type of thing. But I'm excited. Like you said, it doesn't feel real that there's 2 games left in the season. That just can't be real. But then you step outside and you're in the studio and you're like, I'm so happy I wore sweats. Like, this is insane. It is officially cozy season.
Yeah. This Nashville game is at home, but at home away from home. So we've got Montreal and Nashville at RBA. So, like, I think we are in as good as a position as we could possibly be. Like, literally at this point, I don't think anybody could have asked for more. We're in 5th. That result against the Red Bulls was massive. I think it gives us tiebreaker if we match them on points. And then, if Orlando can drop any, like, we're finishing 4th and we're getting a great seed. But we could end up with Montreal if they finish 8th and we finish 4th, I think, as our opponent, and we would have had scouting on them from the last game of the season to kind of know what our outlook is. So it feels like we're getting somewhere. Like, we're about to find out, like, what Cushing and what, like, these guys want to do on the field. Like, what the story of 2024 is going to be for us. Yeah.
And I mean, we have kind of a new home in RBA for these 4 games straight. 8 goals to their 5. Mm-hmm. Realistically, 8 goals to their 1 at RBA this week.
Yep.
Can't hate that.
And I think the playoffs are going to be there too. Any of our home games are going to be there because the Mets decided to be good at baseball finally.
Along with the Yankees.
Along with the Yankees, yeah. They both just do not care whatsoever about our playoff abilities.
Yeah, so...
Stadium can't come soon enough. So I can't promise that we'll be at any RBA games.
Outside of maybe the playoffs.
Yeah, that would have to be like...
That would be our debut as playoffs.
That would be the debut, so it better not rain. Because I hear the media accommodations there are shit if it's raining.
The radio portion of the commentating audio track, I don't know what is up with my brain today. I can't think of words. But the local radio version of the audio on Apple TV, they said that they were on the roof of RBA. I don't know.
What the hell?
I don't know. And it kind of sounded that way. Not to throw anyone under the bus, but it sounded like they were too.
On the roof.
Just a crazy tidbit. But yeah, that'll probably do it for this week.
The last thing is probably just don't fucking chant like idiots at games also. I hate to bring this up and like be the people that say this. Not that, our words mean that much, but like, honestly, if we had drawn or lost that game, like, I would have 100% got on here and say it's the fans' fault.
Oh, yeah.
Like, because the ref went and added, we did have the long VAR check when they were trying to give Perea the pen. But, like, that dude was dragging that stoppage time. And I think a lot of that was a factor of him having to stop the game for the chant. I know there's no confirmation, at least at the moment, what it was. But it sounds like the Spanish chant that they always say not to do. And earlier in the season, we did it at the Tigres game. Not we, but members of the NYCFC fans did it. So I just don't see the point. And I 100% you are basically just a bum if you do that. And if we had lost point, if you had literally hurt the club and hurt the players on the field by giving the other team more time to go and do something, you are so beyond a problem to be in or around anything related to this club. You're a loser.
If you were a season ticket holder, that is...
They should be stripped.
Worthy of being stripped, worthy of, having soft to hard bans from the stadium, and I would go as far as to say an appeal process to be allowed into the new stadium. That just can't... It's pointless, it's offensive, it's all of the things that annoying, you don't want. And it almost directly led to our demise, literally. So
literally points on the table.
You really rely on people like us in the crowd who would have to self-police that and be like, nah, we're not doing that.
I do wish in a way the club or the league would police it a bit more too than just making and maybe they do. Maybe we just don't have line of sight into that, but just something beyond the announcement at the stadium when it happens. There's a billion cameras in Red Bull Arena, in Yankee Stadium, in Citi Field. they have a billion mics too. Like you can, I don't know, it might be hard to find exactly like the person or people that are doing it.
I
but
don't know,
like
there's like 600 people there tonight.
if you can, like it should be hard bans, and it should be like an appeal process. It should be like the players go through. Like you have to do classes or something at some accredited place that MLS deems reforms you, or just like give them it for life, because I don't care. Like there's just no.
There's so many people that'll go to the game instead of you.
And taking away the stadium from them, the new stadium, that would be probably the best punishment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So.
Yep.
That was also like I think a somber moment that took away from the end result too. Because then you get on Twitter and like some MLS analyst is tweeting about it, and then you go into the quote tweets or the responses, and it's like, this isn't surprising from the fan base that used to have Proud Boys in it or David Villa, and it's like these are things that we're trying to get away from, and like you're giving all of these people ammo and like making us all look like shit too. Yep. So it's annoying. It definitely took away from the game a bit.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess just in the effort to not end it on a sour note, Alonso bangers week after week, highest goal scorer for us. He's still second to only Messi for goals per 90. It does help when your coach pulls you out the minute you score 2.
Every time.
It does help a lot. I will give you that.
Cushing may be...
He's cooking the books or something.
Yeah, he may be like making a case in like future transfer discussions. If we just yank this dude every time he scores, like we look like we have the next Mbappe or Ronaldo. And
turns out he's just a 27-year-old that found fire. Like he just did. So. And
maybe that's the last thing that I would say to Jovan too. Like it's not out of this realm. But the last time that we had a guy score even close to as many goals as Alonso, or a bit more with Tati's Golden Boot, like they got his ass out of there immediately. Yep. And like you were saying, I think you said he's 27.
I believe so.
Like that would be the guy that you take that one and done season and you cash in on him, because what are the chances that he does it again?
Right.
Like it's pretty low.
Right.
So it's possible like Alonso could get sold, or probably not loaned, because CFG, he's too old for CFG.
Yes.
What the hell is that?
I don't know. That's just our bathroom here. The studio bathroom is possibly operating by itself.
Yeah. I mean, that bathroom has never been used, and now, for context's sake, the water heater is on full blast, full alert at the moment.
Got to keep those pipes hot.
Can't be good.
But
so who knows if Alonso's on the team in 2025? We know
he will be.
We know Cushing will be too.
Correct. Yeah. Those are absolute.
I was going to say that's the spark notes of the episode.
Yeah. Too long didn't read.
You just have to wait 45 minutes to get them.
Too long didn't read. Don't be an asshole. And sometimes we're an asshole and we don't realize it, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
Got to get on the shins. Eventually, you had to get on the shins.
It's 142. Wedding this weekend for me that I'm going to. Not me, but I'm attending one.
Yes.
So after the Nashville game, I don't know. I feel like we might have to record a late episode and get something out, just because it's the second to last game of the season. Otherwise, like our next episode would be after Montreal,
which is like October 20th. That's like 2.
Is there like an international break or something?
I don't know, but it's next week, I believe, and then not until the 19th. I believe
that might just be how calendars work. I could be.
No, because it would be the 12th.
Oh yeah, so that is skipping.
Yeah,
that's MLS scheduling.
There's probably
slap an international break before the last game of the season.
Got to be a great reason for it.
Yeah,
they wouldn't just
new tournament or something.
Yeah, they wouldn't just do something for the sake of it. Right?
1 week tournament. It might be the Open Cup final. Maybe that's soon. Or did that happen?
Maybe, but like, what does that have to do with us?
It doesn't. Never does.
Anyways,
142.
Episode 142 is crazy. 150 coming up
soon. I don't know if that would happen this season.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah. I think we would have to win for that to happen. 8 more episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sign me up. Sign me up.
We would be pretty close. Yeah.
Show me where to sign my life away for that to happen.
You want to pretty beat up on that? But yeah, that was 140. You just told me and I forgot. 142. Follow anywhere that you can. Chop it up with us on Twitter. Sometimes you'll be able to give it to us on the shins. for our opinions, and that's fun too. We will see you guys next week.
Yeah, we
or
appreciate it.
thereafter.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.